IVM.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Shunya One, and here we are kicking off, 2022, the new series of
Mhm.
episodes. How's it going, Amit?
I'm doing well. 2022. How many do you think we're gonna do? Do you think we're gonna hit all 52 weeks? Well, I guess we hit
I,
last week and we hit this week. Do you think we'll do another 50?
I think we should be able to.
I think so
Uh,
too. It's gonna be
yeah,
challenging, but I think we'll get there.
how many of them will be from home and from the studio? I am still doubtful on because, well, we're still in COVID times. Are we officially in wave 3 by now? I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know either. By the time this thing will come out, God knows, right? I mean, you can't
Exactly.
predict day to day, right? So forget week to week or month to month, right? And I read this thing online somewhere where a doctor was writing about how 5 days ago, this was Bombay, right? 5 days
Hmm.
ago, lowest number of COVID admits in a year, and last night, entire COVID unit is full.
Exactly. So
So I mean, this is going so fast. Who knows?
exactly. So by the time this airs, yes, might just be in the thick of wave
We
three, which
might.
I think has officially begun. So that's good as time as any to stay
Yep.
home, stay safe, and keep listening to this show. And just like
164
that,
episodes worth.
yeah, exactly. And another very, very, very interesting one. In fact, today
Yeah.
we're talking to two co-founders of Seekho, Seekho.ai, and I think this is a very fascinating platform, and we got
Mhm.
some really good insights from both of these folks who are actually professionals in their own right who have come together to build this
Yep.
product, and a very unique product in the huge edtech space, uh, which is I think doing a very important job.
It,
Really
it
looking
caught me
forward.
by it caught me by surprise, to be honest with you. I mean, I had looked at the website and I was kind of like, oh, okay, interesting. This is a, job education placement kind of like business. Seems interesting. But when we got into it, right, I was just like, oh wow, and it was really, really approached from a different way than anything I've ever heard. So
Yeah.
this is a good one.
Yeah, and I think this listening to this will really open up everyone to the world of upskilling and vocational upskilling, which is I think getting more and more important each day, especially for
Mhm.
people who are getting into jobs. So really looking forward to you guys enjoying the conversation. Hey Aryan, Divya, welcome to Shunya One. Thank you so much for being here. How are you doing?
Our pleasure. Super excited to be here.
Thank you so
And
much. Excited.
both of you are pro content creators, of course, so I can see that you have the professional setup. You guys are well prepared, like unlike most of our podcast guests, which is amazing.
It's been good like a year or two, yeah. So high quality mics, ring lights, these have all become things as part of the course.
But I think that's what's changed, right? I think COVID's converted everyone into a creator. So it's a super
Yes.
crowded market, but a very exciting one to be a part of. So, lots to disrupt, really. So looking forward to that.
Yeah. In
Nice.
fact, on that note, like, what could you tell us a little bit of background about your maybe personal backgrounds as well, right? As before this, what were you doing and what prompted you to sort of take this plunge into like you said, it's a creator space, it's ed tech, it's digital education, it's so many, you can attach
Job
so many
tech, like you
hashtags
get so many labels.
to it. Exactly.
And
So
Shilditya, I've been in the education space now for the past 15 years. Really worked with the skilling ecosystem. Actually laid out the policy for skill development, the National Skill Development Corporation. At last count, my last company was running 150 skilling vocational centers where we were training 50,000 sort of young girls and boys for different jobs and professions. And the reason for that is basically that while we have colleges and universities, unfortunately, at some level, this higher education system of ours is broken, right? 70% of our youth is unemployable. So while you have businesses which want talent, at the other end, you don't have the right skill sets. So pre-COVID, I was doing this physically through vocational centers. COVID actually was a blessing in disguise because it shut down our centers. It moved people to phones, to laptops, and that's how really Seekho was born. Can we create a platform that can actually take this gap between the CV and the JD of a student? Can we remove that? And Seekho is really that platform that brings three different stakeholders together at one point, which is the student, the creator of the content, and finally the business. So, I think it's during COVID that me, Arihant, and Ajit got together. I let Arihant jump in at this point.
Sure, yeah. So as she said, me and Ajit have actually been working together as founders for the last 10 years. He's the tech guy, I'm the Dhanda person. And together we've helped build out startups like HealthCart, 1MG, which recently got acquired by Tata. Then we built our own chatbot business that we sold to Freshworks, spent some time at Freshworks. So seeing sort of rocket ships of different sizes and shapes, Freshworks IPO was huge. But in the last 10 years, me and Ajit have always believed that how can technology create change? Ultimately, in the last decade or so, we have seen the startup ecosystem evolve. We saw e-commerce go from my parents not believing me, why are you wasting all this money we spent on your education and trying to sell things online, to where we are today. And that kind of change through technology is what has driven me and Ajit always. So if you take that and apply to what Divya just said about Seekho, we believe Seekho can solve one of India's most fundamental problems, which is of employability. But on the other hand, don't get us wrong. Impact is great. We're all about the impact. But we are a funded startup, so we're all about creating massive value for everybody. And I don't think there's any harm, and both can be done simultaneously. So we imagine Seekho as a new age career school that will help the youth maximize their earning potential.
So, what are different areas you've identified as Seekho, right? That you think are the things that are holding most people back from, prospering in their career to the extent they can, right? From a product lens, what would you say are the biggest learnings that you would have had around this stuff?
Yeah. So sorry, Amit. I think when what we realized was that it starts from the basic question of what do you need to do. When I look at students, or when we talk to students, and really we've had students from a BITS Pilani to the IITs, they actually don't know which sector do we want to join, what are the product roles, and where do I fit in. So I think that's the starting journey of our product. For Seekho as well as for the students. So how we have looked at it is we've identified 10 high pull as well as high demand sectors. What we mean by that is these are sectors which have a massive demand for skilled talent. We're concentrating on areas like product, finance, consulting, SCM operations, marketing. And within this, you then do a drill down where you do a match between the student and their skill sets. Where exactly is your, where do you fit in, and what are the gaps that you need to fill to get to that job? So I think the beauty of what we've done is we've actually taken a JD and we've broken it down into skills. So if you're talking about saying digital marketing, these are the 10 skills that you need. There'll be 4 or 5 that be specific to marketing, which might be Canva, the required software you need to do, or the experience. But there'll also be common skills, which could be communications, emails, career guidance. And you can literally just map yourself, assess yourself across these parameters, and then personalize your learning journey to take this forward.
I could dig a lot into the deeper tech, but maybe we'll hold on to that. I just wanted to add one more quick point, but sorry, just a really quick point. So, like you said, or like Divya said also, ultimately it's about the customer. And my customer is Gen Z. They are the youth. They're either still about to graduate college or they're in early parts of the career. So we're very much focused on that 20 to 30-year-old band. And this Gen Z is born on video. They are born on TikTok. They are born on Insta. So, all of the science that Divya was just mentioning, and we can go deeper into it, needs to be then packaged in a fun manner. Ultimately, the challenge is that learning is boring. Let's be honest. Nobody wants to learn for learning's sake, except maybe, the few percentage out there. So how can you make it fun? How can you make it exciting? Can I create a TikTokish version of learning, right? So as an example, typically recorded content in the education space has a completion rate of 8 to 11%. We do ultra short format 1 minute videos, and 1 minute videos which are very similar to a TikTok or an Insta Reels. And we are seeing completion rates north of 65%. So this is one example of how you package and present the right things to the customer. And that's what I've learned in my decade years of experience. You always think about the product from a customer first perspective. And I can spend a lot of time talking about different examples on how we are trying to recreate the learning experience. Post COVID, the entire upshot of online learning, everybody has realized that you can't just replicate the classroom experience on Zoom or StreamYard. You need to rethink it. And that is where we spend a lot of time and energy and taken Divya science, the science of skilling, into a fun experience for the customer involved.
Could you kind of just expand on that a little bit? Like, I mean, like the idea of you're talking about, like, when you're talking about the skills that you're trying to impart, these are some complex skills, right? I mean, like, whether it is learning how to use something like Canva or basically, understanding how to do communication better, what have you. How do you format this into like 1 minute TikTok friendly or Instagram friendly, right? Like, what is how do you, how? I
This is
guess, like,
exactly why we do it, because everybody loves it and everybody's so curious. Go
So
ahead.
great. I think I'll blend into it. When you look at, think about when you were learning or when you went to college, right? It's not one thing. You go and attend a lesson. You have a book. You have assignments, right? You have an exam. You're probably cheating from the topper in class, and you're learning a lot even from the students and the community around you. When we talk about edtech and we talk about online education, we think that we can take a lesson, record it, and give a student or a person that learning experience. And that's what we realize is not going to happen. So for a student, we actually have 11 different touch points to teach a particular skill. So now if I had to take your example of a digital marketing course, the first element is the short content. So what we realized is, Coursera is great, and it really it's incredibly valuable in terms of the information you have there. But a 40-minute lesson or a 1.5-hour lesson will have incredibly short completion times. So what we did was, let's break this down. Now, the TikTok or a 1-minute video is what gets you excited, right? What is digital marketing? What is Canva? Why should I know about it? And like I said, we have about 70 to 75% completion rates on this. From this, we also have mentors. You'll have actually live sessions, because again, learning needs to be personalized. It also needs to be localized. So what we have found out that our students in North India want mentors or teachers who are from North India. Our students in South India want South Indian mentors. So you're able to localize it. So I would talk about the Seekho experience through short format videos, assessments, live sessions, mentoring, with people who are already in the sector, online communities which are currently on WhatsApp, soon moving to product, where you're discussing topics, peer-to-peer interviews. And finally, this is all gamified. So every student gets his own report card in terms of what are your skills, what have you done, how good you are, how great you are, and this is connecting you to the jobs. So when the corporate is actually coming to you, they get a report card and a talent board where they can see, okay, fine, you know what, these are the top 100, 200, 500 people in product management, in consulting, in finance. So really, I think what we're creating is a whole experience. And the beauty of this is, technology and product is allowing us to do this at incredible scale. 50,000 लोगों की पढ़ाने में I'm telling you like जान निकल जाती थी, and we've already hit 5 lakh students in the past 6 months on Seekho. So yeah, I think we're trying to take those experiences, put that into product, and see how we can scale it.
Thanks.
And what you're doing is like actually multifold. Obviously, you spoke about almost all the aspects of it. It's not just packaging education for the digital change in how people learn. I mean, taking what you did in the classroom to the digital format, changing it to the attention spans of students today. And then on the other side, you also have the business end of the model, right? Which is
Absolutely.
making it a job board and making it gamifying it. So what sequence of events led to the building of this product? I mean, how can you get inside the minds of you as entrepreneurs? Did all of this happen at once? Did the product evolve from its original vision maybe 2 years ago to where it is today? Tell us a little bit of that background.
Divya, shall I?
Yeah, please.
So actually, surprisingly enough, the product vision has always stayed the same from day one. So, our approach to how JD is not equal to CV and how do you use data to actually solve this problem of the skill gap is something that, has stayed from day zero. And it's amazing. We drew it up on a whiteboard on a beach somewhere, and that has just stuck. What's interesting is more that has changed and evolved, to your question, is actually the business model as well as the target audiences. And that is where we have experimented and tried to figure out what works, what doesn't work. So if I talk about that for a second, the fundamental principle with which we are building product and the underlying technology, which will ultimately use machine learning and AI, has always been data-driven, personalized learning. And we stand behind that day one, and I can dig into it. But what's interesting, and this is true to the entire space that is being called job tech by the VC world, is what is the right business model? You have companies that don't care about revenue. I'm not going to name any. There are companies that, have tried post-paid models, income sharing agreements. Do you charge corporates? Do you charge students? What do you really do? How do you make money, and how do you take this to market has been the larger question. And there also we've cracked it on how you have a large top of the funnel. You engage people through free content, whether it's the 1 minute that we were talking about or longer format free content, and then bring them into different paid products. And there, one of our most exciting announcements that we've just recently done is a very low cost subscription model. At the end of the day, there is this whole, conversation around India versus Bharat. And to me, There's no two India, there is one India. And that India is a big market. It is a large problem. The problem that I'm talking about touches 30 to 50 million people. That's a lot. So to approach that, can you really take high quality education, the kind of education experience Divya was describing, and bring it to everybody? Can I make it so accessible that it costs under $1 a month? Can I bring it to a point where it is 1,000 rupees a year, 100 rupees a month, 1 rupee a class? Can I bring it that powerful? Can I make it that accessible? And that to us will truly solve this problem in a large manner. Divya, if you want to add?
So I'll just jump in. I think a little bit of an impact girl. There's something that really resonates with me is something called techno-socialism, is where technology actually allows socialism to exist, right? Socialism can only exist where there is plenty. When you don't have access, when you only have 100 seats, capitalism will always win out. Technology allows me to offer product management by the best product managers to hundreds, millions, the crores of our country. And really, I think that's what we're moving towards. That the price points that we can now offer these courses are actually phenomenal. So, if you want to talk about something that impacts the lakhs and the millions, and going back to your original question in terms of the guiding vision behind the product, and again, as someone who's been in this sector for the past 15 years, for us, what's really important has been outcome. So, learning is fun, learning is great,
Yeah.
but it needs to be outcome driven. And how do you define that outcome? It cannot just be a certificate. Seekho certified means something. When I have corporates who are coming to me and who are vying for my students, who are vying for our users, I think that's when it's valuable. And that's really something that's been driving us for the past 2 years. And we're pretty close to getting there now.
So if further on the topic of also this the second part of the product, which is the certification and the job enablement part of
Right.
that vision, how do you also balance that with, let's say, the content creation piece, right? Because you these two industries have been tied together, but they have also been fairly distinct, right? I mean, that's also the crutch of the education system, that education system teaches fundamentals, and then job seekers, the employers need practical skills, and that's been the biggest gap.
Absolutely.
Where are you seeing that bridge, and what part of the game do you start, what part of this do you actually aim to solve for, on either side, like going deep into job and upskilling and maintenance of talent, uh, versus going further back into more fundamental education? Like how expanding on both sides are
I
you?
think it's a great question, and I'm very happy that you've caught on. Like, this has historically been the problem, that these are two siloed solutions. सब लोग अपना कर रहे हैं. Somebody else is doing certification, somebody else is doing training, somebody else is running a job board. But it doesn't work until it comes together. The left hand and the right hand need to talk to each other. So I'll answer shortly and I'll let Divya expand. Yeah, fundamentally, what we believe, and that's what the underlying technology is, that can we create a skills taxonomy that ties the individual and the JD. So going a little bit deeper into the tech part, ultimately we believe that the matching needs to happen between the individual and the job. A CV or a JD today are unstructured data. Can I convert this into structured data around a skills taxonomy? Can I measure them on both sides and then bridge or match that gap? So a little bit deeper would be that simply, can I break down the skills of an individual? Can I break down the skills of a job description and then scientifically match it using machine learning? अभी क्या होता है कि somebody will write a job description, must have good communication skills. Yeah, what does that really mean? I can't quantify that. Yeah. Let the best job boards in the world try to work on that problem statement.
And everyone will say
similarly,
that. It's not like
and the CV says, "I have best communication skills, sir. Please hire me." Right? So it doesn't work.
I'll give you an example. I know this sounds really complicated, but I'll give you a really simple example. Excel, right? Everyone needs to know Excel. But what do you mean by that, right? Do you need to know just how do you open a sheet? How do you make a format? So if you're an analyst, you probably need to know storytelling via Excel. You need to be able to create data sheets from a Excel model. That is the skill. So that is what we will concentrate on. And maybe at some level, for the basics of Excel, there's a recorded content, and like you said, I feel like that's maybe what the basic education college is supposed to do for you. So let us work on the specifics you need to know to actually get the job. So I think I would say that we're a career school that is on top. That's a layer on top of your college, on top of whatever you're doing right now, where you're getting your basic skills, but let us teach you exactly what you need to do to get where you need to be, really.
And this is why, this has had so much excitement in this space from the VC world, from entrepreneurs, because now post-COVID, people are seeing how both of these can come together: the job as well as the upskilling or the content piece. And I think we're one of the few companies doing it very, very scientifically.
Yeah, and Shilditya, I actually worked with actually made the skills framework for the country. So spend
Yeah.
about 5 years actually writing down NSQFs, etc.
Wow.
So happily though, a lot of our tech is actually based on that. So our entire job boards, our content, every piece of content is actually mapped to a skill which is mapped to an NSQF, which will hopefully come together over a period of time.
Wow. I mean, I want to get a lot more into the specifics of actually both sides of this. Obviously, the tech and product, because I
Sure.
think there's a lot to unwrap there on how you do this at scale. But before that, we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk to the both of you.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On the Filter Coffee podcast, Karthik speaks with Shreya Sundaresan, co-founder of data-led climate organization Transition Zero. They discuss using data science and financial modeling to fight climate change. It's tough to be a comedian or satirist in India today, but Akash Banerjee is thriving. Check out this year-ender episode of The Wire Talks where he joins Siddharth to sum up 2021. This week on Probation Se Promotion Tak, Abhinav talks about some basic tips to negotiate a good salary. On The Longest Constitution, Priya takes us through the issue of entitlement and reservations at the workplace, especially when it comes to caste hierarchies and sexual harassment. On the Habit Coach podcast, Ashwin is joined by Sonali Sabarwal. She's a macrobiotic nutritionist and they discuss how Vipassana meditation can help us get over stress and deal with other mental health issues. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. If you're enjoying this show or any of our other shows for that matter, do tell a friend. The word of mouth absolutely is essential to us. Don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms that you've been listening to. And also, I'd like to ask everybody to check us out on YouTube. We have a number of channels going. You can find all of them on ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors this week, Cred, Bank of Baroda, CoinSwitch Kuber, and Intel. Thank you so much for making this possible. Hey, so really, really interesting stuff that we got into in the first half, right? But what I wanted to kind of ask a little bit more about the mapping of the skills you were discussing right now, right? Right before we broke, you spoke about how you were working on, like, defining skills in different ways, and could you expand on that a little bit? I mean, like, what were you doing? How did you go about doing that, and how is that working with the existing or with the Seekho product, right? I mean,
And what
like,
is that framework actually, the NSQF
yeah,
framework? I mean, I don't think too many people here have even heard that before.
I don't even
I
know the
was
basis
just
here, but I'll let Divya go ahead.
yeah, yeah, no, exactly. I was just like, did I miss something while we were having this conversation? You're like
Please don't get
NSQF,
us
okay.
started. This is going to take 2 hours now.
But then podcast and I can do these things, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so interestingly, the NSQF is the National Skills Qualification Framework, and what they basically say is that every job is broken down into actual roles that you're supposed to do, and these roles then have skills mapped to them. So within it's basically, and then a lot of these roles then are put together to create a job pack that you're doing. So within this, you can basically, so within, like, we were joking about communication skills, or we're talking about computing, maths, etc. That's actually broken down. When you say you need to know English, then what level of English do you need to know? Reading, writing, comprehension. Should you be able to write a 3,000 word essay or a 5,000 word paper? These are actually quantified and mapped against different skills. So you can actually say an NSQF level 7 is equivalent to, I think, third year college. So they are all, there's equivalency around across this board. So
I'll
when
just
you're
add
talking
something
yeah.
here. So, what happened is that the government of India decided that higher education can't be done for everybody, and hence vocational learning became a key area, right? How do you get more people to enter the workforce effectively? So, a lot of this framework, like the way I was describing, is trying to say that even if you don't have formal education, can skill education be equated to formal education? So, can you be matched to a 10th pass, 12th pass, first year degree, second year degree? And you'll see this evolving more and more as India moves towards the new policy and everything. Sorry, Divya, I just want to make that connection. Go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. So, but I think what's more interesting about it is, for the first time, it actually gives businesses a formal framework when they go looking for people. right? At this point of time, it's like मेरे को MBA चाहिए and BCom चाहिए,
Yeah.
but the level of an MBA between between the top grade schools to some of the smaller schools in the smaller cities in the smaller towns, it's ridiculous. So how do you really ensure that equivalency? And I think that's what Seekho is being able to do, is when we're checking for your competency, whether it's in communications, numeracy, Excel, how good you are for a particular role. So if you're in finance, consulting, marketing, supply chain, we're actually mapping you against this. So within, for example, in supply chain, what are the competencies you need to know? Do you actually have them? These are simple tests, simple objective or psychometric testing that can at least place you on a talent board, so you know where this person stands. So very importantly, like I started off, we're very outcome focused. So for us, what's really important is the outcome at the end of the day is going to be the corporate. So when the
Right.
corporate is actually looking at a student, they have a really clear idea of, an Ajay or Ravi or Priya. She might be from Chandigarh and Vijay might be from Etawah, but I know what scale they are on and how they map to my employment and my jobs.
And so this is part of what we would have as somebody using Seekho would be able to kind of figure out, right?
Right.
As they're
Absolutely.
doing it, they'd be able to kind of map like that. All right. And
Absolutely.
so, but again, I mean, like, there's a second side to this problem that you're describing here, right? Which is the terrible job descriptions that people like me write, which are vague and, like, full of nonsense, right? So, I mean, like, how does one get to the point? Because again, to be able to
You're
take
talking
advantage
about
of
making
objective,
employers also smarter.
well,
Yeah,
yes,
no,
you
Absolutely.
need to, right?
actually,
So,
that's
so
an easier part, right? Because
Oh,
fortunately or unfortunately, most people are lazy. So, like you, Amit, nobody actually wants to write a job description. They're like, "अगर हमें बना बनाया मिल जाएगा, we are more than happy."
yeah.
So, a lot of our effort is actually, the fields that Divya was describing earlier. Can we just create basic templates of what the right JD is, right? So,
Hmm.
let's say if you're looking for a audio artist, there are certain skills that you need. Now, that should be a predefined sort of template for you. And maybe you come in and make your adjustments and your personalizations.
Right.
But I can't let you come in and just sort of start with your own, blank piece of paper and start writing random JDs.
Hmm.
So there has to be some constraint in terms of which skills, and going back to the frameworks that Divya was describing, can be used in certain job families. So we provide these ready-made JD templates with the skills and the levels defined to corporates as a starting point. Sorry, Divya, were you saying something?
no, I think that's why it's really fun to have Ajit as a CTO and Arihant. They're like magicians. But yeah, we actually have an incredibly strong jobs backend ATS platform that's actually connecting it. And again, I talk about it. Normally jobs, or normally this is an afterthought, right? Let's make our course, let's create our content. Oh, by the way, now let's just add a job board to it. And I think this is something we've been incredibly clear from day one, that we are based on skill and we are based on outcome, and the end result, with which is a job by the end of it.
You know,
So
you
Amit, like,
mentioned that
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
you mentioned that you have you've obviously building this template out. You're actually creating this equal language of both job seekers as well as employers to speak on, where they have this common templating of skills. Is this, by the way, something which you very few companies you think are doing, especially the edtech current edtech crop of companies out there? Because I think it's the first time I've heard a conversation focusing on this sort of a vocational skilling
Hmm.
templatization,
And
which,
you've got
and
over
to be
200
honest,
podcasts, so so I'll trust
yeah,
you.
to be honest, it's also something you don't hear in traditional education frameworks as well. I mean, the colleges and schools. Again, I don't know what their backends are and what their education parameters are, but the boards, ed boards, seem to be still fairly the same. I mean, haven't heard of radical transformation in a long time over there
No,
as well.
you're right, and we're very proud that I think we're one of the few companies globally thinking about this. There are at least one or two good examples in the US that I can think of that are doing a far sort of deeper job than perhaps even we are, slightly more mature companies. In India, very few. At least in our space, hardly any. In K through 12, which is a slightly more mature market for India, I know there is a lot of good work happening in terms of machine learning. In China, I've met a couple of companies, but again, very K through 12 focused, that are
Right.
taking this kind of a deeper look. But in our space, on the other hand, most people that you speak to will agree that this is the right solution or right direction. But like Divya said, building the technology around it is neither easy nor for the faint-hearted. So that's why we are very proud of having taken this approach.
So talk to us about that also a little bit now. You guys are branded as Seekho.ai. Now
Right.
we know that the .ai tag is grossly used, and become super popular over the last few years. But tell us
There's
how
a
it
there's a
applies
good
to
there's a
you.
good question, and Divya, I'm going to take this. This is the fifth startup that I'm building with Ajit. Right, Ajit really wrote the first app for 1mg. Right, the first app written by him that went viral to a million users. We were one of the first guys in the world to create chatbots. Chatbot as a word didn't exist, right? It was called automated chat,
Yeah.
2015. There were a handful of companies around the world, and our tech was fairly superior. So in all these years, मैंने कहा यार अजीत या प्लीज यार मेरे को डॉट AI डोमेन लेना है. He's like नहीं, I will not allow you because dot AI is not applicable. You're just fooling people. He's like the straight solid like
Of course.
technocrat. So when we were building a chatbot business, it was called Joe Hukum, and he refused to let me use AI in either of our deck in buying the domain. So when we did Seekho, he's like, finally, hi, यार AI ले लेते हैं. ये तो real AI है. We are actually going to use machine learning and AI at its core. So that is really the truth behind it. Even at Freshworks, Ajit helped build out the AI system. So we get what it really means. Like you said, it's been an overused term. Everybody's sort of, misusing it. But in its true form, for its true application, it can be super powerful. And we never believe that AI will, replace humans, but always only augment them. I'm pretty confident that the creativity of a human being cannot be taken away.
But Sheila and Amit, like honestly, again, um, as someone who's been here about 3 years back, it was impossible to imagine that a student would learn uh, on a computer, right? It was impossible to imagine. We've tried this. You could make the fanciest of ERPs, and it would be hard to get teachers to use even PowerPoints. And we've seen that with multiple technology companies in the education space before. But the world has changed, right? And EdTech is definitely a place that has been transformed. And it is only now that true personalization is possible. It's possible for me. I don't have to put everyone in a 40 uh, person cohort and put everyone through a 3-year program irrespective of where you started from. That's always been our education system. For the first time, we actually have the ability to not put everyone in a bus with a given starting and drop off point. We can actually say, hey, you know what, you already know these things, I don't need to teach you these things again. Fine, you might be in Gorakhpur, but you do have the skill sets to become a product manager in Facebook. And we have had students who've been able to do that. And Seekho really is working on that personalization, where it's saying that, hey, this is where you're at. These are the 5 or 10 things you need to do. We started off with saying, democratization or unbundling. You can choose, yeah, these are the 5 things I need to do. I have 3 weeks, and this will help me crack this particular interview. Or hey, I have 6 months. I can go in deeper and try for a larger role, or a different profile.
And these success stories are ultimately what makes one happy, right? Somebody who went through our product program and got a job as an APM at Flipkart. A girl who went through our program and got a consulting gig at the Big Four. My favorite is, and that's just because I teach the entrepreneurship course. Somebody who went through the entrepreneurship program actually then raised a seed round 2 months later. It made me so happy,
Wow.
right? So this kind of impact and outcome that Divya has been underlying, that to us is the flaps of the butterfly that have a very, very far-reaching effect, and ultimately makes it all worth it.
Wow. You both of you and Ajit as well, you guys are all from where, like, you said yourselves, you're very true to your passions and the kind of backgrounds that you've all had. And you continue to do this even at this sort of a new product, new company that you're building together. You're also getting on board, like especially for the live classes piece. You're focusing on getting, I think you said, mentors from various places. This
Right.
How do you keep the bar high on the quality, just like you imagine for yourselves? How do you keep the bar high on that you're giving out, the education that you're giving out, the upskilling that you're giving out?
I
Because
give all the credit to Divya here. Her
yeah,
clear sort of motto and DNA that she's imbibed into the company has always been best of class. So whatever you do, can it be best of class? And there is no good quality, bad quality in life. It's always wherever you are playing, can you be the best in that space that you're playing? Divya, I'll let you expand on that.
So I always say something. I was like, there are never any bad students, right? Like it's impossible. We like बच्चे बदमाश है, वो classes नहीं attend के. And I'm very, very, very sad. I was like, there can absolutely be no bad students. We need to figure out a way to engage them. If they're not finishing a 40-minute course, let's make it into a 60 seconds one, right? Like some things, it's the WhatsApp community will work. Your live sessions will work. You'll have to change the language. So I think as a company, we genuinely believe student first. As long as we can help them in their journey, we're going to be successful. And the thing is, if three of us, between me, Ajit, and Arihant, if we can't get the best teachers on a platform to teach our students, then who can? Sorry, being a little cocky here, but really, and we've really been able to pull in. If you're talking about consulting, we've got the partners from the big fours coming in teaching. If you're talking about finance, we've got and now, like I said, we can. So let's get the best people, not just for content, but who are actually doing the job. And I think a lot of people are excited to give back. So people who've been learning, who've been a part of the community, and now it's possible. You can take out 2-3 hours in a week to sort of teach, be a part of the student community. So we've been able to pull in some incredible mentors who are part of this ecosystem.
So very,
And
very soon you'll get a call from us asking you to record about how to podcast course for our
how to
creators. Leave no man standing. But jokes aside, yeah, there is obviously a lot of underlying tech also, like you asked. Quality is very important. So can we collect feedback and we use data to constantly iterate on content? We go to the lens of understanding where the drop off is at 46th a second. What are the trends? Why is somebody dropping off at a particular piece of content? What are the different forms of engagement? How do you collect feedback from the student and ensure that every session, every slide, every part of the content is constantly improving? It's not like make it, forget it, right? It's an iterative process where you keep improving, keep improving. And as long as you do it scientifically, then you're always moving in the right direction.
Brilliant. I mean, on that note, obviously you guys are growing super fast. I know you're just like any other startup. You're sure you guys are not just hiring, but you're also sort of leveling up. So what can, as closing notes, what can, from either of you, if you can share, what is it that you look at for Seekho in the next 12, 18 months? This is not a typical VC question. I think it's more genuine about what you want to do, where you want to see your community expand. What outcome do you want to see happen, that you guys will drive? And of course, do share where people listening to this show can reach out to you and communicate with you as well.
Arihant, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, from my perspective, very simple. All we want is user love. So we are Seekho.ai. Find us on LinkedIn, find us on Insta. I want everybody out there to love us, like us, and help us create that brand, create that effect that is important. So for all the listeners out there, do look us up on Seekho.ai, on our social handles, and give us your feedback. Hopefully, mostly positive. I want user love, and that is the most important thing for us in the coming 1 year. And that's all I ask for. I want people to talk to us. I want people to respond. I want people to at least know who we are and spread the message. Because for us, this is a challenge of scale, and I need every single person helps out there to get our message across to the larger population.
I'll take the closing words. I genuinely feel that employability is one of the largest challenges that is facing our Gen Z. We have the largest youth population in the history of our planet, right? India has an unbelievable number of people who are under 25 years of age. And it is disheartening, it is scary if these people and these students are unemployable or not getting where they can and they should in life. And really, and that's the vision, that's the belief that we've set up Seekho with. This is really, I think, for all three of us, our effort to make a change for the community, for the society that's given us so much. And that's Seekho for us. Ultimately, it's a platform to help the Gen Z to get where they want in life, where they need their career. We're growing every day. So like Arihant said, please reach out, tell us how we can do this better. And join us as our users, join us to contribute, give us your opinions, come on board as mentors. And I'm very serious, Amit, Shilditya, I need both of you on Seekho. It's a platform that we want to get people together to really make an impact in the change. So
Absolutely.
reach out.
Absolutely. No, happy to help out wherever we can. I'll just remind everybody quickly that if you enjoyed this conversation that we had with Divya and Arihant, please do let a friend know. Let them try and spread the word about this. Also, if you enjoyed this conversation, do drop us a rating or a review wherever you're listening to us on, whether it's Apple Podcast, Spotify, or any of the other platforms.
Yes, and Divya, Aryan, thank you so much for this. I think there's so much more content we can probably get out of if we had, another hour of just talking to both of you, given the cumulative backgrounds and the, so much thought you've put into the product. But we'll let everyone listening sort of go try it out, try Seekho for themselves. Because I think whatever stage of life you are, especially if you're in the employable age or just going to be, it's something which you can't miss. I think there's absolute value in upskilling yourself always. I trust me. I mean, I would love to learn a few more skills, which would probably make me a better, not just podcaster, but better anything else in life. So,
Thank you so
absolutely.
much for having us. Like you said, we believe in Seekho every day. So that's what our motto is. And thank you so much for having us here.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Divya.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Aryan.
guys.
Thank you.
IVM.